Hi there. Thank you so much to the both of you. That was absolutely wonderful. So we are coming on pretty close to the time slot for our panel discussion. So I don't know. Do we have time for a quick question, Raita?
I think we're gonna go straight to the panel. So we're waiting for Tom to join, and there he is.
Ooh,
Hey.
you've moved.
I've moved, yes.
Tom has teleported.
Welcome.
Everyone. So thank you, Julik, Kir, for your talk. So we have some questions for you. Kir, can I start with you? So did anything announced that was coming to Ruby 3 this year jump out at you, and why?
Personally, I'm really excited about the actor pattern coming to Ruby and the Rector implementation that's in progress. I've been closely watching the PR open on Ruby/Ruby on GitHub and trying to get my hands dirty, playing with actors and learning the new Ruby model and providing feedback. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Thanks. Julik, how about you?
I think I'm really excited about the work Samuel Williams is doing and about the non-blocking I/O, because I think at the moment most of these, especially network-bound applications that we write in Ruby, they could benefit from more concurrency, and a lot of performance bottlenecks are I/O bound. And if all of the I/O could become non-blocking, this would really put Ruby back in the same leagues with Node and Go in terms of I/O performance and concurrency, therefore. So I'm really excited for those.
Thank you. Ramon, you have a question for Tom?
Well, before I want to give Tom the opportunity also to tell us what he is excited about in Ruby 3, if there's anything that jumped out at you.
For me, it's probably the pattern matching, although I think that's just becoming stable in 3.0. The reactor model is also very interesting to me. I would very much like to see how that becomes what final product that becomes.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Here's more of a cheeky question, if I may. What's your go-to karaoke song? By the way, we do have a sign-up sheet for karaoke later today. It's going to be bit.ly/NoRuKo-karaoke. I hope the link will come up on the YouTube chat below. So, sorry, yes. Julik, do you have one?
Last time I went to karaoke, I was so drunk that I actually forgot. So it's going to take too long for me to remember which song that was. Probably something from the Village People.
That's a good choice. How about you, Kir?
Yeah, personally, I think I almost never been to karaoke, or at least like I've passed by my friends singing, but I've never done that myself. So not sure I have one yet, but maybe I'll have one once I try it with some Ruby people.
Tonight's the night.
You've got a chance today. How about you, Tom? Do you got a go-to song?
Not really. The only other time I did karaoke was EuRuKo 2019. Otherwise, I would say like Backstreet Boys, I Want It That Way.
Ooh, that's a good song. It's a good karaoke song.
Passionate.
Nice. Okay, we'll remember that. So I'm curious, Julik, how did you get started with Ruby? And how old were you when you started programming? Oh, that's two questions.
So when I started programming, that was in high school, and we just had to program a little bit in BASIC, which was just part of the regular, high school curriculum. But I didn't pay much attention to it, and then I got into programming when I was about 18, and I just needed some web work done because I was a designer on a project, and the guy who was supposed to be the web developer on the project, he just said, I'm not programming this stuff that you are designing. And then I was like, well, okay, then I'll gotta try it myself. And with Ruby, I've been busy for maybe 12, 13 years. I think I started using Ruby around the same time as Victor, who was giving a presentation earlier on the community track. So about 14 years ago, 15 or so, something like that.
14, 15 years ago, that's a really long time.
Yeah, I know.
How about you, Kir?
So I've started programming when I was still in school, maybe like 13 years old. I was doing some HTML and CSS websites because that seemed fun, and then I wanted to add some more dynamic things to those websites. So I've learned PHP, and I've started making some cash doing websites for other people. Still back in school, I mostly used that to buy more games for PlayStation. And a few years after that, I discovered that there is Rails and Ruby on Rails, and it takes so much less time to do all the CRUD applications with Rails than I used to do with PHP. It's literally like 1 day of work versus a week of work. So I started getting into Ruby and Rails. And I think that was about 10 years ago. So, and that's, yeah, I can't believe I've been doing Ruby for already 10 years.
Wow, 10 years. How about you, Tom?
It's been a while. I remember I started out with HTML and Dreamweaver. I'm not quite sure when that was, but I started the actual first programming language was probably Visual Basic.NET around 2005, 2006. Then switched to PHP and then Ruby and then Git at the same time. I remember that. That was when I was doing my bachelor's. So that's many years ago now.
Awesome. So, Julik and Kir, you just gave us a really wonderful, well choreographed, pre-recorded talk, and I'm wondering how was that experience for you? Is this your first time doing something like this?
I don't know. For me, it was the first experience of doing a talk in a duo, and it was challenging. For me, it was challenging because like the timing wasn't right, the tools weren't cooperating, all sorts of challenges.
It was
so
also the first time.
Let's do it live. Sorry, Kir. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was saying that it was also the first time for me doing it pre-recorded, and also first time for me doing that many transitions between speakers. And as Julik said, that was a bit trickier. I'm not sure if that would be easier if we did it live, because transitions live could be terrible. And now at least Julik was able to cut some of the gaps.
Yeah, I probably will try this again, but it was really special. I didn't have this experience before.
Yeah, it can be pretty hard, right? How about you, Tom? You got some experience with doing this kind of pre-production?
Well,
Oh, sorry.
So you were addressing.
I was asking Tom. Sorry.
Yeah, Tom. So.
I do not have any experience with the pre-production of it. I probably would get too much into detail, like trying to get it all perfect, take out all the small gaffes I make, and never get around to actually finishing it. So probably better that I just do it live and accept any faults in the presentation.
I understand. Julik, I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
No, I'm saying like it was super challenging, but also very very rewarding.
That's good to hear. Awesome.
Excellent. So, Tom, what are your favorite tools for development?
Well, I already mentioned one in my talk. I love Vim. I love using that. Really thankful to the people who told me to, like, hey, maybe you should try Vim when I was using Sublime Text back in the day. Of course, I also love Git. Like I get a lot of in the detail and the magical commands that some people stay away from. So I love that. And personally, like for personal automation, I use Hammerspoon a lot on my computer. Automation that's in my system is done through that, all the shortcuts, all the window management. I can just write everything in Lua and go crazy, basically.
Awesome.
And how about you, Kir? What are your favorite development tools?
I'll throw some tools that are kind of on the edge to make it interesting. Lately, I've been enjoying using Sorbet to type my Ruby code, especially for areas of code where the price of a mistake or of no method error would be too high. And I think at this point, Sorbet now is pretty mature as a library, as a thing to adopt. And another tool that I've been exploring and enjoying lately is Nix. It makes managing local dependencies so much easier. You can think of it as a brew, but without all the versioning and conflicting things that you might have experienced with brew. Yeah, those are the things I would suggest checking for anyone who's curious to explore new tools.
Nice. And Julik, what are your favorite development tools?
So I would say my development tools are, well, first, I'm probably one of the few dinosaurs who are still firmly with TextMate. Yay. So that's even less than 10%, because somebody is suggesting that there are 10% of Emacs users where there are even less TextMate users. And the other thing that I use a lot, and Ruby is actually one of those things, and I think this is something we do not have nearly enough of these days, are things which are dynamically changeable. Meaning languages where when something doesn't work, you are allowed to take a big crowbar and go inside the thing and change the way it works. Ruby works this way. JavaScript, until you introduce sophisticated precompilers, works this way. Smalltalks use this way. So anything that brings us kind of closer to mutable computing, as they say, I guess those are my tools of choice, because I think this just creates a different relationship between the computer and the computer user.
Awesome. Thank you all. Right. Why don't you maybe tell us a little bit about your favorite tools?
Yeah, for development. Well, I've been tinkering around with the Vim as well a bit, but I'm not I'm not very experienced just yet. And well, actually, my tools are pretty basic. I don't have that much experience just yet, so I'm taking all the advice I can get and try and tinker out a bit. It's not like I'm like still willing and able to try out a lot, and I'm still learning. So again, I just switched from Atom to Vim, and it's nice, but I still have to like learn a lot. It's a lot of muscle memory. So yeah, so everyone just like if you have a nice tip, and then I try see if I like it. But it's not like, yes, this is it, and if I don't, it's not this or die. How about you, Ramon?
Yeah, I think I'm also in that Vim boat. I enjoy it very much. Just feels super fun to do. I do look at people using Visual Studio Code and thinking like I'm almost ready to check it out, and then I'm like, but like my Vim keys are making it hard for me to make the transition. So like I dabble in it every now and then, but I don't know. Old habits die hard, I guess. If I want to give a shout out to a tool, I was having a problem that I use Tmux to manage my windows in my terminal. And I was having a problem where it was getting really slow to open a open a new console in my Tmux. And I found that the culprit was NVM, Node Version Manager. I had a lot of Node versions installed. And so that was slowing me down quite a bit, getting it into my environment. And someone pointed me to a tool written in Reason, which is a programming language, called FNM. I'm not affiliated with them. That someone recommended it to me. And that cut my startup time from 10 seconds to a couple milliseconds. So shout out to them. Thanks for the work.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, so Tom, have you been trying out any new other programming languages lately?
Not lately. I'm still trying to learn Rust more, trying to get more
Okay, I
familiar with
think
that.
Ramon is very happy to hear that.
I like Rust. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, me too. Like we use it at AppSignal, and I want to work more on the parts that use it a lot. And currently, still have to get a lot of help trying to get things sorted out, understand what's going on.
How about the rest of you, Kir?
I've been playing with Rust as well, especially during the lockdown. I think for a month or so, all of my spare time, I was learning and playing with Rust. I would love to shout out to a few people from the Rust community who do YouTube tutorials, especially those where they take a problem and start coding, and that YouTube video is maybe like 60, 90 minutes. But they go through all the language features that they use and why they use them, and what are some of the things that are not super obvious. So I learned a lot from that. And I think Rust is pretty cool for stuff like TCP practice at work. I like a lot of stuff with scaling Shopify has to do with introducing a proxy between a client and the server. So rather than connecting from Rails to MySQL directly, Rails connects to multiplexing proxy in between, which helps to take a lot of load from MySQL. And there is a proxy like that for pretty much every database type that we use. And I've been playing with Rust, writing a database proxy in it. I really enjoyed it, and I hope I get a bit more time to get back to Rust. Maybe at work even.
Nice. And how about you, Julik?
I have been playing with Crystal a lot, and I have been working with Golang a lot. Crystal was especially kind of inviting and nice, and at WeTransfer we actually even run a service in Crystal in production. I didn't write it, but some of my wonderful colleagues did it. And we even done some work on kind of looking into how we can do operationalizing Crystal, so how we could do things like error handling and things like that. I think Crystal is very noteworthy for a Rubyist to look into. I didn't like Go very much. I mean, it's completely workable and it's a really nice language. I don't really subscribe to the philosophy. And I guess the thing that fascinated me more of these, like in general, it's not necessarily the languages themselves, but how to do something that works well in an ecosystem. Like, for example, what Tatiana was presenting today about OpenGL. Like, imagine you want an application which needs to put a window on the screen and draw a line on the screen. You can use whichever language you want, and you may even be familiar with this language. But before you get all the libraries and all the frameworks on your particular operating system to cooperate, before you figure out why the linker doesn't work, before you figure out why the compiling fails, all of this kind of stuff, you actually spend more time than on writing the logic in the code itself. And what fascinates me more than languages, to be honest, is how can this problem be solved? Like, is there something that makes this ridiculously simpler than it is now? Like, imagine I want a window with a button with native OS controls. What should I use? Except Electron, maybe. That's kind of a fascinating topic.
Well, one question that we asked to our panelists in the previous panel was, and that I would love to hear from you as well, is during this time, have you been watching a lot of talks? And if so, is there a talk that you would recommend that to pass on, that you could give a shout out to for folks? It doesn't have to be at this conference, can be at other conferences that you've seen, particular talks that have really moved or influenced you in the last time. Julik, why don't you start us off?
I'm trying to remember. So I think there is one, and that was the last talk by Sandy Metz, which was really impressive for me, which kind of revealed the impact that generations have on equality, equity, and enablement, and acquisition of wealth in a way. Because, for example, in most of the countries where we are located, questions like, do you even get to own a property when you are at a certain age? Where do you go live with your family? Is your job going to be safe in a decade when the technologies change and the accessibility of technologies changes? Things like that. I think this was the highlight really for me of the recent talks.
I saw that talk. It was excellent. It was at, I believe, RubyConf last year, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, the talk is called Lucky You. I can highly recommend it. It's great. Sorry, got excited. Kir, how about you? Is there any talk that's been jumping out at you?
That talk that Julik mentioned sounds really interesting. I would love to watch that. I personally haven't watched too many things in maybe last 6 or 9 months, because this year has been kind of crazy for all of us. So maybe I'll pass it to Tom.
Oh, Tom, you're still there?
He looks happy. There he
Yeah,
is. You're muted, by the way.
Yeah. You are muted.
Dropping, or rather I am. So my selfish programmer by Justice. It sounds a lot like what my talk is not about communication. It's more about how you do low programming and how you can be practical in this kind of development.
Oops.
I think the connection might be a bit off.
Yeah.
I think the connection might be a bit off. I kind of missed it, but we'll see. So, Ramon, how are we on time? How many questions can we still?
I think we've got time for one more shortish question, and I'll make it a quick one, if I may.
Go ahead.
If all goes well, will I see all of you at EuRuKo next year?
Yes.
That's a yes. Okay, cool. Yeah, chime in.
It's the one that's going to be in Helsinki, Finland, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I used to live there for a few years. I'm really looking forward to come back for the conference and to see all the people from the local Ruby community that I know from the Meetup, and as well as all the rest of Ruby friends from the rest of Europe and around the world.
Excellent. How about you, Tom and Julik?
I would say I'm looking forward to it. I actually bought a ticket last year. I just couldn't, use that ticket, so I hope it's still valid.
How about you, Tom?
Yeah, if it's safe to travel again and have large gatherings, then I would definitely look into it.
Excellent. Excellent. Right, I hope you too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Excellent. I'll be there too. I got my ticket as well. Well, folks, thank you all very much for taking the time to answer our questions. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Yes. Thank you. I hope you have already submitted your karaoke Google form. It will not be recorded. You'll be safe. It's fine. It's just us.
All right, folks, let's start wrapping up our day. And what a day it has been. It's been an absolute delight to be with you here today, to share these talks with you. As you can see, I've put a little link here on my right, my left, your whatever, you know what I mean. It's what a great day this has been. I'm going to give such a big thanks to all of you for being here today. And Raita, how about would you like to give out a couple shout outs?
Oh yes, yeah. I want to thank. I want to thank you, Ramon. Yes, yeah, I learned a lot for you how to be an MC. This is my first conference I emceed, and I was so nervous. So thank you so much, Ramon, for this. I also want to thank Arno, our other MC, who did the community track. And of course, my partner in crime, Floor, the other organizer, Tom. I want to thank Henk. Henk is our tech guy. I want to thank our sponsors, Full Stack for hosting us, AppSignal, our accessibility sponsor. And I forgot anyone, Ramon?
Let's see. We got AppSignal. Yeah, you said Full Stack. Let's thank Andrew from White Coat Captioning for providing our incredible captions for today. Our speakers, of course, you've all been wonderful. Folks watching, you've been incredible. Thanks for all your great questions, for tuning in, for sticking through the whole day. It's been a blast. It's been indescribable. Don't forget, we got karaoke coming up in 5 minutes. If you've already submitted the form, you will have received your link to the Zoom call in your email inbox. And well, what left is there to say except we're live on YouTube, and I've always wanted to do this. So thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to leave a comment on those comments below. Click that bell to get notifications for all the videos we've got coming up. Be sure to subscribe to our channel. Thank you to all our sponsors. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.